And boom, we are live. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight. Good to see you all. Um, so you know what? I've actually got the camera set up with the oh, and it's doing crazy stuff over there. So I'm not going to switch to it. I'm just going to leave it on the webcam for this. I've been actually swapping mails with the dude who made the DSLR capture. It's made for Hangouts on there, not for Wirecast, which I'm using right now. Which is a shame. I am talking with him to figure out the deep voice issue. So that is all good. This is going to squeak a bit. Sorry about that. I'm just going to move the position of the mic to there. Actually, that's not really what I want to do. I want to have this standing up so I don't get the sounds of the table so much. Okay. So that is there. It's very good to see you all. Welcome. I think I saw Mata Gaijinka in there. Indeed, there is Mata Gaijinka. Very good to have you on last night, Gabriel. Thank you for that, especially at short notice, and thank you to Raz for the good thought actually to get Mata Gaijinka on. Turned out to be a great conversation. So go and check out 2.5 Oyajis from last night if you want to check that out. A lot of stuff going on. Tokyo Digital Crew is kind of going crazy at the moment. There is a secret project going on that is coming together kind of nicely. I was actually planning to be editing music before coming on live, except I started watching a James Bond movie that was surprisingly interesting. I wasn't expecting to find it that interesting, but it was, so I was watching it. Casino Royale. Don't tell me how it ends, I'm still watching it. But yes, as a result, the dance thing, I still haven't finished rendering. I haven't edited the new series with Rochelle yet, and I'm still editing this music thing, although I want to get this music track out first. It's a remix of a track that Fog has made that's awesome. That's based on a track that Nonbirishito made, which is awesome, that I'm now collabing with a bunch of people. Look out. Anyway, so that's going to be really, really cool, and that's taking a lot of my attention at the moment. That's why I don't have a track ready for tonight, although, what the hell, I'll improvise something like I always do. There's also a big bit of news, actually, which I neglected. Victor and I alluded to last night, which I think I might go into a little bit here. I think I'll just put it into the Flipboard just before the show started. I've got, I got something cooking. And you'll see. Anyway, it's really good. Like I said, I've just been really roughly playing around, but, like just rough sketches, but I'm polishing it up. I'm learning a lot of skills as well, actually. And what I really want the Tokyo Digital Crew to be is not just a bunch of what it is, which is a bunch of cool people who just share music and make it available, and it's just a collective for people to discover music that you can use on videos and games. But to be a little bit more than that, to go into becoming kind of a collaborative collective and figuring out a good method to collaborate. No, I'm just doing this really for the first time. I'm dipping my toe in the water. And it's really fun to be learning something really cool that gives me a chance to learn a whole lot of stuff and to share knowledge. It lifts the whole group up, and it'd be kind of cool if whenever we release tracks in the future, that we as a group share and do remixes and stuff of those. Hey Theodore, good to see you, man. Actually, really good crowd to hear. And Ty, look out for it. It's going to be really, really good. By the way, huge thanks again to Raz for the awesome thumbnail tonight. I love that. The purple lightsaber, which, that's how I roll. That's how I rock. This is really awesome in the dark. Maybe if I turn this off, it won't really make much difference. Maybe if I turn this one off as well. Boom, there we go. It's, I made like 6 of these for the lad, but the purple one I think is the coolest. I kept this one for myself in memory of Prince. Not actually in memory of Prince, but serves a purpose. That is awesome. I don't know, there's lots going on at the moment. Let me get that light back on. So, the thumbnail is sweet, is it not? I'm sure most of you guys have seen it by now anyway. It was on the countdown screen. I really wish you could actually play music during the build up. That'd be kind of cool as well. I've mentioned that to YouTube before, although I'm always I'm always making unreasonable demands of them. Speaking of unreasonable demands, however, let's flip. Check this out. This is in Japanese. This has been tweeted. YouTube is holding a bunch of events, in around Japan, in Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, and Fukuoka on different days. And these are called variously Happy Hour and Creator Day. And at the moment, yeah, it's just got the ones up until the end of June planned. These events are being run by creators who are invited to come and host these events, rather than YouTube running events and telling YouTubers, buy a cat and a hoverboard and get lots of views and sell ads for them. Instead, these events are being run by YouTubers that are invited by Google to come in and set up an event any way they want. There's two types of events. There's a Creator Day, you can see there. Very early on, there's a Creator Day in Osaka. I actually met the guy who's running that. In fact, I was in the promotion video for that, which I need to go and check. Muscle Watching is this guy here. I was in a promo vid with him. Real cool dude anyway, Muscle Watching channel. And yes, a Creator Day is basically a big event, basically kind of like a party, and you can use the space or another area. The only thing is, to be able to attend, well, you have to be in one of the regions, although these are being held all over Japan. You've got to have between 1,000 and 10,000 subscribers, and you have to apply. But in the end of the day, even after you apply, the numbers are sort of limited, and you have to basically apply and see if you get in, more or less. I'm going to turn this off, actually, so I'm not going to use that tonight. Which means I'm also going to turn off the mic over here, just while that's all there. So that's the Creator Day. The Creator Day is going to be a big event, like 80 people, like a big party, and I'm actually going to organize myself. I've been invited to be to help set these events up. So I will be running a Creator Day myself on I know what's happening now. I've got the playback coming through from the headphones. I'll turn that off. I will be setting up a Creator Day myself on the day of the summer party, which will be September 3rd. So put that in your calendars. I'll be setting up a big party, basically a big party in the YouTube space in Tokyo. So for people who are eligible, who can apply to this, there will be like a formal day. I haven't got a detailed plan for that yet. So watch that space, but that'll precede the party. So basically, there'll be something for people in Tokyo who will be able to do that. However, more to the point, I skipped too far there. More to the point, I will be actually running a happy hour on June 17th. That's me. Let me show you. Booyah. The event will be in Japanese. You got to speak Japanese to attend. I will, of course, facilitate. So, there'll be some English, but you should have more. You need to have more than 1,000 subscribers to apply for this. And what I'm going to do with this, as this kind of alludes to, the idea of a happy hour normally is you go into the YouTube space and you have drinks and you mingle and you network. That's the idea. I have some issues with the idea. The thing is with the YouTube space events is that what tends to happen is there'll just be someone doing a speech on the stage that no one's listening to. People are drinking, but they hang out with their friends. Hey, Maki TVJP, watch your mailbox. People sort of talk in their groups of friends. You don't really get to network or meet other YouTubers that you don't know. And the information that YouTube puts out at the events, I find generally they don't, that information doesn't come across very well. So they've asked me to arrange a happy hour, but I've said I want to run it like a workshop. And so what we're going to do is it's going to be, the event which I'm going to set up is going to be basically, I'm going to try to limit the numbers first because I want to kind of really control it. We're going to have an introduction of the equipment that's in the space, and which will be given by someone from the space is the idea. And we're going to have like assigned groups of five assigned groups, which will go to different parts of the space and use different cameras. And they've got some awesome equipment in there, stuff like 360 cameras, first person, action cameras, some of the latest sort of compact cameras and stuff like that. So the idea is we'll make these teams that will be assigned to make a 2-minute video over an hour. It's a good way to get to know, to work with other people. You'll get to have drinks. There'll be a space where there'll be alcoholic beverages provided. So it is a happy hour. But there'll be these kind of networking sort of activities to get people sort of working and talking together. The first half of it will be, the first third will be this video making activity. Then there'll be a break. Then there'll be another activity, basically sort of a group discussion. And again, the idea is it's still going to be drinks. It's going to be kind of informal, but it is going to be moderated. There are going to be YouTube staff there and myself. And the idea is that we'll have people talking about how do you make money off, what are the ways to make money off YouTube, or what are the ways to get good views on YouTube, or what sort of videos are being made nowadays. Have discussions in separate groups and then have a big group discussion. The idea being, rather than having YouTube talking at creators as often happens, or YouTube invites a panel of multiple creators that talk at the other creators, I always find the best information at these events comes from the creators themselves. And the creators, in my experience, are pretty interested. They come to the events in order to get to meet the other creators and to get to know about other creators. So for me, the objective is to make sure that anyone who participates in the happy hour that I set up is going to get to know as many other creators as possible, and is going to get to actually share the useful information that they have with other people, rather than sit there passively. It's going to be engaged. The whole purpose is going to be to get information out of the people that are there, because rather than presuming that I or anyone else are experts that can tell other people what they should be doing on YouTube. D.W. Jackson noted. So anyway, this is for June 17. I've just shared the link for this overall page, but June 17 is me. There are other events, including one in Nagoya, which I think Victor is running. Megwin is going to be running the one in Fukuoka. Muscle Watcher is going to be the guy in Osaka. Also, there's talk about who's going to be in Tokyo. There's going to be another person, a Japanese person in Tokyo, probably maybe Dekakina, I'm not sure. But it's going to be pretty cool, and it's really cool that YouTube has invited me to help run two of these, or at least two. The first one's going to be an experiment anyway. And if you're around in Tokyo, if you don't have 1,000 subs, buy a cat and buy a hoverboard and start making videos of them so that you can have 1,000 subscribers in time for June 17. And please apply. I am going to try to make sure the groups are as diverse and mixed as possible, and it'll be super fun. And I want this to be a type of YouTube event that hasn't been done before. It's going to be a happy hour. It's going to be sociable. There will be drinks and fun to be had, but at the same time, I really want to it's going to be kind of like an omiyai. It's going to be like an arranged marriage of completely incompatible people to see what happens, because that's where all the magic sort of happens. And James O'Hara hasn't fallen flat on its ass. It's never really been. It's always been what it is. It's a high security thing. It's restricted access. I mean, the idea of what it should be a place that I could easily sort of go in, rock into, and meet with other YouTubers and have meetings about producing videos and sketch out ideas and record vlogs and go home. It's never that easy, because you have to pre-book the timing, the security, the filtering, the processes around it. Just make it. It's not really a place you can easily go back to and from. There again, it is still a full professional recording studio with all the equipment that you get to use for free, and just for that, the inconvenience is exactly, Foghat. See, you know what I'm talking about. It still is for what it is. I mean, it's awesome if you can have access to it. It is there's nothing else like it in Tokyo, that you could make a serious production movie, music video, and people do. And in that respect, it hasn't fallen flat on its ass. It's been pretty successful. But in terms of being what I think maybe average Joe vloggers like myself wanted it to be, maybe it's not that. And I talk with the guys there about that, and they do want it to be closer to what we want it to be, or to what I want it to be. At the same time, appreciating that there are just limitations, partly just because of the location. It's a high security location, being in Roppongi Hills, and it's a very convenient location. So there is all of that, but I can do what in a park? Well, you can do all sorts of things in a park, but there again, you don't have full studio lighting, a full green room, C300 cameras, infinite sound camera equipment that you can use for free. You can't do that stuff in a park. So the space is good for the purpose that it's there. You always want it to be easy to use, and of course in the US they've really got a long way with that. But that said, in terms of just doing a YouTube event, like an event for getting to meet and connect with other YouTubers, my goal is to take it to the next level, and June 17 will be the event. So you can go online and apply. The information is there. I'm going to just double make sure. This has already been tweeted out by Google, but I want to make sure I'm tweeting the right link. This is what it looks like. If you speak Japanese, if you meet the criteria of having less than 10,000 but more than 1,000 subscribers, so it's kind of a specific target that they're going for there. apply, and it'd be really cool. And there will be multiple events of this, but particularly if this one goes well, this is going to be the pilot, the experiment. So there you go. That is cool. I just tweeted out the link for this before the show, but that is of course in my Flipboard, so that is awesome. Into the other stories which I've just picked out to talk about this week. First one is a blog by Texan in Tokyo. Texan in Tokyo, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I've said this to people in separate conversations. I'm just going to mention, I've got all of her books, and I've got all of her books. Her books are kind of like a family life and marriage version of Japan Business Time that I do with Rochelle. They're the same sort of thing. It's looking at the cultural issues that arise. We try to pretend that culture is not going to be an issue. It is an issue. And she does it very lucidly, both through these adorable comics, which she posts online all the time, and her videos. But more to the point, what really captured me was her blogs, which she also puts in her books. And she is a really, for someone who is still in her early 20s, she is a very settled and lucid and intelligent and articulate person. She articulates like someone who's lived a lot more life, frankly, and is very clear, to the point that her clarity and simplicity of expressing very difficult concepts in very easy to digest ways and very clearly, I think makes her, in my book, Texan in Tokyo is one of the smartest people, I think, on YouTube in Japan, at least that I'm aware of. She's a smart cook, and she's very articulate with how she expresses these thoughts, which is why it's always a pleasure to read her blogs. Not really a pleasure in terms of the subject matter, but she has tackled this issue. She is, of course, big now. She just cracked 100,000 subscribers, which I always knew was going to happen. I always knew back when she was a small channel. But, so, of course, she draws a lot of attention, and she draws a lot of, from her books and her blog and the video blog and so on. And she mentions that she gets hate mail because she married someone who isn't white. And she talks about the kind of ignorant opinions about that people have, particularly towards Asian men, the stereotypes and so on. And she also mentions what I also can relate to. I find it easier to deal with the actually racist people who are the self-aware, the enlightened. I'd almost call them enlightened racists, because they're racists who are able to objectively identify themselves as racist people. And they'll say, I'm unapologetically racist. I'm just not comfortable with races mixing. If someone says that, they won't often. So if you meet someone who's that far out that they will actually say that, they usually won't even try to justify it, or anything like that. You know where they stand. They know where you stand. Half the time, actually, even knowing that and that being clear actually allows the air to be clear around that issue. There is the problem. The point is, someone who's self-aware will just decide to express it or not express it, but they can control it. The worst thing is ignorant people who think that they are nice people. And so they have this feeling that if you're not used to seeing multiracial couples, which, some countries is totally like again, South American countries and some countries, racial mixing isn't even, no one thinks twice about it. But unfortunately, in a lot of Anglo-Saxon countries, Western countries, Chinese stick to Chinese, black people stick to black people, white people stick to white people. And if you see interracial couples, it's like, oh, that looks strange. And that looks strange instinct that people have of discomfort, or however it comes out, they try to rationalize with complete just bullshit. Which they try, because it's funny, they try to rationalize it because they can't accept that they don't want to acknowledge that they are racist, or that they're having a thought that they should not express, so they try to express it in just the most retarded, stupid ways possible, knowing that retarded is also, a politically incorrect way of saying something that is silly. But and she talks about these people who are just like, again, they come out, they try to sort of justify themselves and sound good about it sometimes, but they say the most horrible things. But yes, but also gets really nasty people as well, I guess. But this is it. This is the point that she comes to. It's not the hardest comments are the people who don't threaten and swear. They seem completely normal. They don't have KKK emblems, right, on their avatar or anything. In fact, they're almost apologetic with things like, "I'm sorry, you two seem okay together, but I really think you would smile more if you had married an American." these types of people, you know, they exist in New Zealand, they exist in Australia, they exist in every family. They have these people. Please don't get mad at me, but you would be a better looking couple if you, I mean, that's just horrible, but this is the thing. These are people who are not self-aware. And it's an issue that, and here's the funny thing, we assume in our racism about Japan and our prejudice, everyone talks about, oh, Japanese, aren't they so ethnocentric? They don't have foreigners or whatever. Aren't you going to get stared at everywhere? In the countryside, you will get stared at everywhere in Japan. But the staring is looking at you like you're, you know, like Elvis has come to town, or something unusual, literally like a panda, is what they say, you know. The idea of the kind of, I'm not comfortable with seeing, you know, a person of a different race dating someone of this race. Look, that unfortunately comes up a lot, even in New Zealand or Australia, or, you know, the assumption that they're fetishists, or the assumption that he can't get a real white girl, or you know, she must have a fetish for you know, people go straight to sex and fetishes and stuff like that. Well, people can't get around that. Here's the thing, in Japan, people are just nice. They're just nice. You know, you'll get attention, you'll get stares, and people will assume that those stares are the same kind of racist stares that you might get, or the same kind of, you know, ignorant stares that you'll get back in Australia or New Zealand or America. And they're really not. I mean, I guess it might be going too far to say it doesn't exist. Freaks exist, you know, but you're talking in terms of percentages, you know, 5% versus, you know, unfortunately 60 or 70% sometimes, you know, in other countries. So yeah, this is something that, it's funny, in Japan I never think about this issue. I never deal with this issue. I don't obviously highlight my relationship as part of my online thing. I deliberately keep that separate. So I suppose by putting yourself out there as a couple online, you're inviting idiots who are going to, you know, have access to the internet to make stupid comments. But I am pleased to say that I've never really run into this at all in daily life in Japan. Whereas you do run into it. I've run into it in Australia and New Zealand. And I'm sorry that she gets mail and it comes from those countries. And if anything, this is a problem that those countries have to deal with. It's kind of sad to hear, but at the same time, read it. It's real. It happens, and it's kind of stupid. But yeah. But people do still think that way. People. Again, I've talked about this before. Victor and I basically disagree on this point. Victor thinks people are all basically reasonable, thoughtful people until proven otherwise. I think people are idiots until they prove otherwise. I really do. And particularly internet comments. You know, again, if someone makes nice, reasonable, thoughtful comments there, bang, you're a person, you're qualified, you gain citizenship. But a lot of people I have come on here, you know, there are people in the comments who have an unrecognizable name. They come and they say a bunch of stupid shit and they disappear. As far as I'm concerned, those people never qualified for recognition of human status. That in itself is maybe a kind of prejudice, but at the same time, I you know, you can't deal with every idiot saying every stupid thing on the internet. Victor tries. I don't even go there. You know, people are people. So what can you do? This is kind of cool. I will never use this in this space. I like to control what's envisioned and not envisioned in this room. I guess that's what your imagination's going now. But YouTube is unveiling 360-degree live streaming video. They're already using it at Coachella and a bunch of South by Southwest and some other festivals that are happening. And it's actually going to go even beyond that. They're going to have 3D 360 video where you're going to actually have like depth and everything like that as well. They already support that as a format for recorded videos. And they're already supporting these 360 live videos. I've actually been working with Ami Yamato this week. She's been looking at buying one of these. And I was helping her test it. It sounds like she's going to get one as well. And we're talking a lot about the VFX stuff. Yeah, this is exciting. When you're going to be able to hook one of these up for something like the YouTube Hanami and have 360 live. Ben Duncan, behave. We did not. That's a slander and a dirty frame. See, this is what I'm talking about. People on the internet. By the way, Ben, I actually want to catch up with you and ask something, music-wise, after all of this. But anyway, yeah, these things are the future. And they're going to be, I think, for recording events, that's going to be super cool. So I put that up there. That's going to be awesome. Oh, by the way, I did Facebook an idea the other day, which I think I'm going to do. I now have a gap in my schedule that I no longer do, of course, Asia News Monthly, or the, what is it, What's Up Asia, with Steve Miller. He's now obviously working at Voice of America in America. I can't really do an extra weekly show. I can't fit that in, but I can cram in probably one extra monthly show. And I'm just thinking, I want to do a show based on Tokyo Digital crew members, and so many YouTubers are very musical, and when I meet them in person, we talk music stuff all the time, but it's not really like Japan specific. This is a Japan oriented show. So I really want to do a music oriented show, like once a month. And if it actually goes really well, maybe even build a channel around it. But I think go with the theme of the Tokyo Digital crew and get people on and talk about that. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, first Wednesday of every month, do something like that. That might be very, very cool. Plus, it's a nice format. Actually, Hangouts on there have a feature called Studio Sound, which is designed for musicians to be able to jam live, like over microphones. And this is something as well I'd quite like to explore anyway, like to get musicians on and have them play something and try to mix and collaborate online. So look out for that. I'm still putting the idea of that together and how it would work, but yeah, it'd be nice just, I have other interests, and it'd be nice to have a show for that sort of thing. And again, a bunch of people who are already in the comments here, but also some other people who I really, really like to follow in on that. So, look out for that. I think that will be maybe next month. And Tai, you'll be invited, of course. So anyway, back to Japan news. Last week there were like 200,000 people basically sleeping in cars. The reason they were sleeping in cars was, even if their houses were still standing, the quakes, and there have been like something like 800 quakes since the big quake nearly a month ago now. Sorry, not a month, a week ago. It happened on the 14th, right? But after the Kumamoto quake, a lot of people went and were sleeping in cars because they were too afraid to be sleeping inside, because these buildings were actually, some of these aftershocks were so big that the aftershocks were continuing to damage, and houses which survived the first and the second and the third quakes were still collapsing after the third or fourth really big quakes. So a lot of people have just, they're not comfortable sleeping under heavy roofs that might fall on top of them, so they've been sleeping in cars and so on. An unfortunate result of that is people who are sleeping in small cars are getting economy class syndrome, like literally blood clots in their legs, which can go up into the heart and kill. And there's been like 11 people have died just from that, from sleeping in cramped cars. The good news is that after 1 week there were 200,000 people registered as displaced. Now there are 90,000. That number's gone down. I guess a lot of those people, perhaps those who can, have relocated to other areas, or they're staying with family or whatever. But there are still an incredible number of people, 90,000 people, who are homeless basically as a result of the quakes, and are not comfortable. And there was actually a story in the news tonight that of the 840 earthquake reinforced gymnasiums and buildings designed as refugee gathering centers in the event of quakes around Kumamoto, 40 of those assigned locations themselves suffered structural damage from the quake that they couldn't be used. Which is to say, these quakes were so big that they actually rendered the most earthquake-proof buildings in these areas unusable. And they were showing on the news, concrete slabs that had fallen onto these gymnasium floors. So because of that, and because of all these people getting sick from sleeping in their cars, there are people today who they've got sports stadiums where they've laid out like tent camps and stuff like that. Again, amazing just how well organized things still sort of are in the circumstances, but very, very tough down there. And like I say, I mean, the mayor of the worst affected town was talking about it's going to take 2 months before they get temporary housing in place for people. And then we're going to have, and again, I know from having relatives in Christchurch, cities that have been through similar things, that it's going to take, years to really get back to anything like normal. So, keep them in your thoughts, and keep an eye out for things that they need. It was interesting actually just to see that people were donating tents, because these people are suffering from not being able to stretch out and sleeping in cars. So yeah. I'm going to come back. There's actually, I put a link in here for more information on what you can do to support. This is something I've talked about before. I'm just put it in here again with Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. Is that Vive or Vive? I don't know. But what I'm always talking about, I'm surrounded by monitors here, but I want, a VR headset, or ideally an augmented or mixed reality headset, where I can just see virtual monitors that I can make any size, and I can do, you know, whatever I want. I can modify the interfaces and so on. And these apps are already out on these headsets, and this is what excites me more than the games. I mean, the games are going to be cool, but anyway, that is there. Hey, American Fairy. Well, but if the damage was minimal, then you're allowed to smile, believe me. Yeah, Andrea Moboy, I actually caught something of that. He's selling a bird photo book or something, right? And he's donating the funds to earthquake victims. Michaela is also doing donation gathering. So check that out. That's partly what we wanted to get her on 2.5 Oyajis for last night, and she was up for it, but she was just traveling and she was a bit tired. I've always wanted to get her on 2.5 Oyajis, actually. She's never been on, and it remains a goal. I think we will get her on at some point. But indeed, Busan, Kevin, and Michaela's located in Fukuoka. She's really near the area as well. So there are people doing things to try to help out. But of course, there are the standard institutions as well, which also collect donations, which I will share information for. In the meantime, just coming back to regular news, this has been kind of interesting. There's been all this kind of press, and I've got some more articles on this, on how the Japanese government's perceived as pressuring regular media, news media, into self-censorship, into not criticizing the Abe government as strongly. A bit of context for this. Abe was, of course, Prime Minister right after Koizumi was, like way back, was it 2004, 2005, around that time. And he had some health problems, but also the media was merciless, where I think they were kind of easy on Koizumi. They decided they just didn't like Abe very much, and they just repeated scandals and media bashing from the media and so on. Really, combined with his health issues, really contributed to his government just kind of failing and him getting replaced after just a few months. And he actually said, I've seen interviews with him after he was Prime Minister the first time, where he directly blamed the media and biased media for the failure of his first cabinet. And it's interesting, when he became Prime Minister again, they certainly did set about putting a heavy hand on the media, and the media seems to have gone along with it. They're nothing. I mean, they're not as critical, and noticeably not as critical anymore. Some people are suggesting this is due to undue pressure that's being brought. And one area that's always very sensitive to criticism is foreign media. Now, I've been one of the most critical people of foreign coverage of Japan, because frankly a lot of it is substandard. Right now, as I've said, I think the coverage right now, the correspondence in Japan for The Economist, for The Guardian, for The Washington Post, for The New York Times, I think right now there's actually a really good group of correspondents here that actually report very well on Japan and that are very much worth reading. But there's been really below average coverage by the BBC, by The Economist, by the publications in the past. And when they've published bullshit, I've put it on the show and I've said, here's a story in a British or an American magazine, and just for your information, it's bullshit. Don't believe it. So I've done that. Abe has actually got a media advisor who's decided on his blog. He's an inside on the inside circle of the government. He started on a live internet show, basically attacking foreign journalists when he thinks they have misreported something. Of course, American Fairy, you're right. All media is, all people are biased. Everybody has an opinion, and that's fine. I think so long as you're transparent with what your own views are, I don't think you should pretend to be unbiased when you're not. But at the same time, I think you should always make an effort, at least to make yourself appear more reasonable, to properly portray all angles of a dispute. I haven't really looked very closely at this guy's criticism, what he's specifically calling out, but things that he calls out as mistakes, as being pointed out here, are things like where people are saying that Abenomics is proving to be a failure, for example, because the economy's in the crapper still. And he's saying, well, nobody can conclusively say that about Abenomics yet, so it's a mistake. And that's a conflict of opinion, that's not a mistake. But that said, there are plenty of mistakes, and there's also, it's probably fair to say that there's a liberal lean on the foreign media in Japan, on the correspondents who are here and who are at the Foreign Correspondents Association, which again, I mean, hell, I've got a liberal lean as well. I probably agree with them on a lot of things, but at the same time, I don't think it's helpful when they are reporting news with a bias and without any illustration or any giving away of the multiple perspectives. This is one thing I really think is important with anything, is to understand that there are always multiple perspectives on stories, and so long as you kind of paint the full picture, it's okay. I sometimes feel like the not all the sides get painted, and that's something which concerns me. And among that, of course, there are just wacky, stupid, bullshit stories about Japan that come out as well. I'm quite happy if someone in the government wants to call bullshit on that, and it's the media's job is to call out the government. Well, I don't see why the media shouldn't be accountable as well. So I can see some reasonableness about this, but this is being highlighted as another instance of a government that's really leaning very heavily and trying to make our media be uncomfortable and get into line, and this is one way that they're doing it. And maybe there's some truth to that as well. It's an interesting debate that's going on anyway. To the extent that if he's actually just calling out foreign media on mistakes, which they make, and there is a lot of substandard reporting on Japan. Frankly, there are a lot of con artists who come over here as who have come over here as journalists. As I said, I think it's a pretty good crowd at the moment, but probably the best in the whole 16 years that I've been here. But there are some people who come over and they just make up stories about Japan. The whole things about Japanese are not having sex anymore, or Japanese are all buying panties and vending machines on every street corner, or these sort of things are they're fun and stupid, but they also do paint perceptions that unfortunately people like me who live here have to answer to whenever we meet people who've read their stories. So I don't mind calling out misleading information anyway. That's kind of interesting. What else we got here? Oh, that's right. The Kyushu earthquakes are denting dairy shipments, which means that they are going to contribute. You know where this is going. Do I need to tell you where this is going? This is. So of course it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if dairy shipments were down, if Japan had free, access to imports and so on. If New Zealand and Australia could freely import all the dairy products that Japan needed at reasonable prices, there's no reason that an earthquake in Kyushu should ever have an impact, or anything else. Supply chain issues or anything should never have an impact on the supply of basic, essential, life-saving dairy products like cheese and ice cream and milk and who knows, maybe some butter. But here we go. Japan, even under the TPP agreement, actually negotiated to block any increase in the availability of dairy products in Japan, which are already undersupplied, and there's already a crisis in distribution in Japan. And on top of that, one of the Hokkaido and Kyushu, the two main sort of producing areas, Kyushu's been wiped out, partly because the roads and rail lines are all down there, and everyone suffered so much damage. So again, this is going to put more pressure on the unavailability of butter. And there's no way to fix it because Japan blocks imports. So I don't know. Well, see, so Andrea, I appreciate the gesture. I do appreciate the gesture, but you can't send it. This is the thing. The rules about what dairy products you can send from outside of Japan are really, really tight. You cannot send milk or butter. Even if I would need it to save my life, which I do. So it's another downside of the quake, I guess. Not the most important aspect of the quake, of course, the 90,000 homeless people, the dead, the people who are continuing and will continue to suffer. The point is, I'm not saying Kyushu people, get out of the refugee camp and make me butter. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that those people should be able to focus on recovery from the quake, and I should be able to buy butter here without that impacting on that thing. I should just be able to, Japan should get it from wherever it's available. The fact that I have to, the fact that there are these repercussions of this quake down there, that we all have to suffer through butter shortages as a result of this quake. I mean, it's just, it's not, not really fair on anyone. So anyway, that is another downside of the quake. There's a good article that's been forwarded a lot this week. Buy a cow. Well, yeah. Ty, are you literally telling me to have a cow, man? Is that what you're saying? Maybe I should. I was, I'm not actually joking. At kickboxing last week, there was a Mexican guy, real nice guy. He actually had a bottle of milk. And he was walking around shaking it. He was making butter himself. He was literally doing what you guys suggested to me. And while I was training, he gave it to one of the staff. And the staff lady was like shaking the bottle the whole time. And you could see it was solidifying. He was actually making butter. But this is what people have come to. They are actually, going to the gym and shaking bottles of milk and making butter themselves. It's gotten desperate. Not even joking. So yeah, there's a good article here basically on Hiroshi Mikitani talking about his decision to make Rakuten go all English, and the reason why as a language for doing business and so on, the merits of doing English, and the shortcomings, the cultural and linguistic shortcomings of doing business in Japanese. It's in depth. It's from someone who's one of the top sort of business figures in Japan. It's really insightful. It's well worth a read. Go check it out. This is interesting. I think this is a cool idea. I don't think this is ever going to be a substitute for a proper earthquake kit, right? It's not a substitute for keeping, 60 liters of spare water stock at house. He's cycling through at any given time. Of having the full, everything that you'd want in a full disaster kit. Portable toilets, disposable toilets, batteries, generators, all that sort of stuff. There's stuff that you would want that you can't make too compact. But that said, just as a simple set, this Japanese designer guys just thought of this very kind of easy to carry, very compact, easy to store and distribute emergency kit. What it contains, let's see. There's a whistle to tell other people where you are, a radio, a raincoat, a lantern, drinking water, and a first aid kit. And so the idea is that it's going to be easy to carry around and to distribute, which I like the idea. I like the idea as a backup. Hey, Biggles Gaijin. It's a nice backup idea for for a disaster. It's not, this shouldn't be your only thing, but I could see it'd be nice to have a couple of these around. This is just a simple thing that Kumamoto, they've actually made a thing with the Kumamon logo, which has been enormously successful. That you can, they don't restrict the use of this of the symbol, and they've said that charities are free to use this. They don't need to actually ask for permission to do it. That's good. This is awesome. That the ISS, they've released 4K video footage from the ISS, which I'm going to download and play on my desktop. This is something if I was going to get like a virtual reality headset, this is what I'd play. I just want to imagine being floating in space and so on. So that is cool. Perfect if you are high, if that's your thing. I get high on the music that I'm making right now, which is very, very good. I'll get to that. Check out, this is there's Alicia here, and this is Japanese Basics Bootcamp. Learn Japanese Pod 101. They've been making Learn Japanese videos forever, but they've probably got, there's a bunch of online Japanese learning resources, including, of course, the lovely Jenny Silver with her Japanese IRL series, which you should totally go and subscribe to and watch. That's a really good series. But in terms of like a structured learning program with textbooks and all that sort of thing, Japanese Pod 101 is pretty good, and Alicia's awesome anyway. So go and check this out. Yes, I thought I'd just share that because that's high quality stuff. It's on YouTube. It's pretty easy to use if you're interested in just getting started learning Japanese. This is pretty reliable. James O'Hara, behave. So what else we got here? This is what we're talking about just before. 11 people have just died from stress, economy class syndrome, and so on from after the quake, and that's going to continue. So they need help, and look out for how you can help. Information here on how to donate to support earthquake relief efforts by the wonderful Nippon.com, which is the chief editor is Durf, D-U-R-F on Twitter, who's actually quite of a funny guy as well. But yeah, rock solid information here. These are bank accounts that you can transfer to that are verified, legitimate sources. There is another thing. A lot of scams are going around right now pretending to be collecting for Kumamoto or doing things for Kumamoto that aren't legitimate, and you don't want to be deceived either. So this is a good source of information for legitimate ways that you can actually ways and institutions that you can donate to, and that you can find further information about in English. It's all there in the Flipboard, so go and have a look. This has been another big thing this week, that a UN Commissioner for Press Freedom came to Japan, interviewed a bunch of people that said, we're being repressed, and tried to meet with the broadcasting minister, who said, I don't have time to talk to you, screw you, go home. And he did, and he put out a report saying, well, Japan's press freedom is terrible. It was probably, I think I get what the government's doing by not meeting with the guy. That makes it easier for them later to say, well, they he's inaccurate, he made mistakes. Letting him make mistakes by not, correcting him is a way to, I guess, later discredit the report. The problem is, and this happens in companies, I've seen how this is how you ambush, Gaijin expats quite a lot. The thing is, it can work as a tactic like that. It worked a little bit with the child prostitution thing, where, the person who said that like 30% of high school girls have done angel corso or whatever, a ridiculous statistic that came out, and the government sort of shot down the whole report with that. But the fact that you don't correct it when you have the opportunity to contribute and stop that happening in the first place, the fact that you kind of treat these UN, these global institutions with contempt, and you let them do a first report, and then later you just try to discredit it. That approach, it allows, these things to come out first. The government's approach makes sense from a sense of wanting to get into fights with foreigners and setting them up so that they can win. But that has a mistaken view that somehow that's going to help Japan's image, which it doesn't. It actually, the fact that the government's taking this really passive-aggressive approach to all of these sort of, global critics and so on in these UN institutions, same with the whaling and stuff like that as well. Even when they win, even when they're right, they just come off as dicks. And for a government that's really been very vocal that they want to elevate the image of Japan, this isn't the way to do it, right? So that's my only criticism about that. There has been some. Durf actually was joking about this. Some people are playing up, particularly the far left, are making a big deal about the idea that the government is really suppressing, press freedom and freedom of speech in Japan. Durf kind of sarcastically pointed out, well, look at all of the suppressed media talking about how suppressed they are without any suppression whatsoever, which is kind of true. Maybe people are overstating a little bit, but that said, there are some interesting points being raised by this. And D.W. Jackson, I don't like people saying Japan is a single unitary person. There are, I think the Abe cabinet can be characterized as passive-aggressive. I don't think that they're dealing with this very well, but different governments have different personalities and approaches on this stuff. Take the Khan cabinet, which was just complete morons. That's more the typical one. Indeed, Stormtrooper 109, they need to make an AI to solve that. I think that's actually the most intelligent thing I've ever heard a Stormtrooper say, so thank you. Please keep contributing. Odie Jr., never too late. Thank you for joining. Sorry I didn't do the big greeting thing in the beginning, by the way, but it is always good to see all of you guys. And with this current setup, which is I'm always tweaking and improving, I can actually see the comments really well now. And I love this gaming interface and how that shows comments. I mean, that's awesome. How Japan and Nico Nico fuel online fan culture in Japan. This is another one. This is from Guardian. It's not from the regular guy whose name escapes me briefly. I'll remember it. It's from Rosie Spink, so I don't know. But yes, talking about the way the cultural influence of YouTube, which has become huge in Japan. I mean, most young Japanese now will put in the top 5 jobs that they want to be when they grow up, often in the top 2, YouTuber now. It really is changing and affecting society, and it's nice to see an article just sort of focusing on that as a subject. Another kind of interesting article here. This is from Nippon.com, looking at the recent sex scandals and the aspects of that, including how guys are kind of let off the hook and women are kind of held up as being guys, guys are being, boys will be boys, of course they're going to play around and have affairs, whereas women are like, harlot, prostitute. Particularly the Becky scandal sort of stood out for this, and there's a kind of an interesting cultural analysis of the how adultery, which has traditionally been a crime in Japan, actually, and that grounds for lawsuit and so on, and basically how the cultural context of all of these sex scandals that have been happening. So that's kind of interesting. We're just getting to it now. The Mitsubishi Motors scandal. Where do we even start? This happened at the start of the week, so it's actually it escaped my mind. But so Mitsubishi Motors, when I came to Japan in the late 90s, they were up there with, the top 2 were definitely Mazda, Honda, and then just behind that maybe Nissan, and then behind that you definitely had very solidly behind Mitsubishi Motors and Mazda, and maybe Suzuki and Daihatsu a little bit behind that, making smaller cars. But the Mitsubishi cars from the 90s, they made the Pajero, which was like the flagship four-wheel drive that was so successful that people didn't even try to compete, and the publicity they got from the Paris-Dakar was awesome. Then for the rally racing thing, for the racing car circuit, they had the Lancer Evolution, which all the Chinese racer boys in New Zealand loved. I really like the Impreza, the Subaru, better. But the Lancer Evo was like the flagship, like a boy racer car. In America, they had the Eclipse, which was kind of a different design, very nice design version, which there were reverse imports from America into Japan of those cars. Even just the regular cars, the Gallants, the Diamantes. In New Zealand, we had the last car to be manufactured in New Zealand was a Mitsubishi V3000, which was a version of the Magna. Great cars. We own them at home. I liked Mitsubishi cars, and they always struck me as being solid, well made. So there were two Mitsubishi Motors. What happened to them in about 2000? There was a really stupid scandal that happened, which was, it turned out that whenever they received, serious like accident reports, like engine exploding or fuel tank dropping off or something like that, things which might necessitate a recall or something more than just dealing with that one person, actually, but it's bad publicity. Scorpion, I think you might be talking about the Starion, which was also a great car. Oh, and I wanted the GTO twin turbo when I came to Japan. I really had my eye on that car, 3-litre V6 twin turbo. Awesome car. So with these accident reports, they kind of took a bit of the sales guys and who dealt with this. They wanted to brush it under the rug. So what they would do is they would send sales guys over to the house of the person who had this sort of accident, make them a generous sort of payout, offer them a new car, some special customer service, say sorry, bow a bit, and try to settle it one-on-one with the people. But it's obviously much better to settle it one-on-one really well with one person than have to replace 1,000 cars or 30,000 cars. And so they had to keep these accident reports anyway. But if there were serious accident reports, they have to report them to the ministry, and they might be ordered to carry out a recall. So whenever the ministry would come in, the government would come in and audit their accident reports. These guys figured out very cleverly, hey, let's just take all the accident reports and keep them in our personal lockers, and keep those lockers locked so that the government inspectors will never find them. Well, this apparently at some point, I think there was probably a whistleblower told, someone got tipped off that the accident reports are being kept in the lockers, and you better find them. And so the government came in, they found that they were hiding these accident reports. And the fact that they were deliberately hiding, serious defects and recall triggering sort of events, caused such a backlash and a loss of trust of Mitsubishi, that they pretty much almost collapsed. You went from Mitsubishis being, as prominent as Hondas in Japan to never, you never see Mitsubishis anymore. Even though the cars that they make are still, in my mind, they make good solid cars, but you just don't see them. They really have fallen to the point of almost collapsing. However, there was what I wasn't aware of is that in order to stay alive, they were partly saved by Nissan. Nissan, traditionally the Japanese big auto manufacturers, apart from companies like Subaru and Toyota, which are founded by the original same company, Fuji Heavy, so they actually are related companies. If they weren't related companies, they would never cooperate in any way whatsoever. But when Gon came in to reform Nissan and save costs, if Mitsubishi was going to offer to manufacture cars for Nissan cheap, then they would go along with that. And it turns out that they've been actually selling a lot of cars under brands of other car makers, supplying Nissan with these cars. And I guess Nissan, probably seeing the Volkswagen scandal, which is like going to be up to $1 trillion, of a hit on Volkswagen, I guess they've been rechecking their emissions ratings on all of their cars, checking that they're accurate. And it turns out that the emissions ratings on the Mitsubishi cars weren't accurate. They were way overstated. And when they came back and asked them what gives, the Mitsubishi guys investigated, and they found that the cars which they were making for Nissan and putting a Nissan brand on and selling to the Nissan, they were overinflating the tires to enhance the scores on mileage, and hence generating fake results. And terrible timing and so on. And a company which might have just been coming back, they've gone and done it again, and it's kind of like, again. And I feel bad. It's a couple of brain explosions by a couple of idiots that's kind of ruining it for a big company with a lot of people who make good cars. But they're just stupid. Yeah, that's kind of very sad to see. Prince. Oh, I didn't even talk about Prince. Yeah, what to say? What really has blown me away, I mean, apart from the fact that the guy is musically like just a genius. I remember way back, late 80s and 90s and stuff, and just if you see his concerts, see him performing, how that he composes everything, and he produces for other people as well, and you see him jumping around different instruments, and you can see he's just a genuinely extremely musically talented person who makes great music. And some of his music, I mean, Barry asked me to recommend some music for him, and the problem I had was all his music is so evenly spread out over all his albums, all of his the music I like the best. I mean, just a great musician. But what really got me was, of course, he's a kind of reclusive. Doesn't come out in public very much, kind of known to be a Jehovah's Witness, known to be kind of an end of the world type person, thought of being as a bit weird or whatever. But some of the stuff that's coming out now about how charitable he was and how he used his money to anonymously support a lot of people, now that he's passed, a lot of the people who helped him do that have come out. There's this video going around on Facebook that I shared that's talking about all the sort of things that he was doing and deliberately keeping his name away from. I guess it might be tied to his religious beliefs and so on. But here's the thing, it sounds like he was a real genuine, like humanitarian type guy as well. And the stuff which he's hearing, and where I come from, it's cool to do stuff anonymously like that, so besides the fact he's just an outstanding musical artist who's just made so much great music that I love. But just on top of that, it just sounds like he's actually an awesome guy, and he's such an awesome guy that he kept his awesomeness secret, and it's coming out now, and that just makes it even, gone too soon. At the end of the day, my philosophy on obituaries is, it's not how he died, it's not how old he was when he died. It's just, you celebrate his life, and it sounds like there's already a lot to celebrate with this guy. But all the stuff that's coming out now, we're finding out there's actually even more than we realized to celebrate. So rest in peace, and thanks for all the awesome music and stuff. If you find this is kind of a limited edition Tropicana drink, Mexican lime. I love this. I discovered this. It tastes just like Manal soda, which is basically like a Thai version of limes. I've been drinking this every day on the weekend, every weekend. This is kind of good stuff, so look out for that. Limited edition. I was in Shinjuku today, and at the new south exit that they've just finished, they're still building. They're going to be building for a long time, but they put this sign out there. I guess this is going to be a new Tokyo meeting place. It's a nice sign. It looks cool. Lots of people posing for photos, which is what I'm sure it's for. And this, if you should follow. If you have Twitter, you should follow this guy on Twitter. This is actually written by Anna Fifield, the Washington Post correspondent in Tokyo, a Kiwi. And she's featuring another online guy, the Tokyo Reporter, who basically translates kind of the most salacious weekly and sports newspaper and weekly sort of news magazine, tabloid news. And he's a super interesting guy, and it's a nice feature of him, so very good to see that. You should follow him, and you should check that out. And that is all the stories that I had for this week. We have like 1 minute left. I don't have a track ready, and I do have a track that I'm working on, but I'm not going to play it yet because we'll get to that. Fog, I see that you're there. Ben, Ty, you're all there. Let's do the Tokyo Digital Cruise Show, and let's do it with different musicians. Also, Maki, the track is moving along, and I want to talk with you about that thing as well. It's gonna be so awesome. And also, I've got some other ideas about producing all the secret stuff. It's all secret awesomeness. But anyway. Go back to the very start. If you are in Tokyo on June 17 and you have between 1,000 and 10,000 subscribers, I'll forward the information on this again on Twitter and Facebook. And you speak Japanese, apply. Come to my happy hour because it's going to be sweet. And yes, indeed. Shall I play a track? Maybe I should do a track. Why not? After show link there by three old dudes. So thank you for that. Let's do this. I'm just going to do a random track secrets. Well, it will not be secret forever. It'll be temporary secret. But yes, it is to build up the awesomeness. So let me hook this up. Get the camera and everything where it should be. Bada bing, bada bing. Oh, put that there. Put that there. Oh, that probably made a bigger noise than I wanted it to. Okay, iPad. I'm not really completely set up to go for this, but oh shit. Does not matter. Let me get this in the good headphones. What type of track should I make? Yeah. Ideas now. Play that funky music, white boy. I got nothing. I got to come back to that. That is what I am. Oh, boom, boom, boom. So let us. Let us get going on this stuff. Okay. Not that. That. Let me just. I always knew that was going to happen. I need to bring on the mic in the front. And this and transition. So that now we should have sound. And let's do a 125 because I've been playing with 125 a lot lately. Oh. Is that coming through? It is. Okay. Here we go. Outro. Bit boring, but you know. End of the show. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining. As always, good to see all of you lovely people. This is a Korg app. You can see at the top of the screen there, and this is awesome. And you know, yeah, I can keep building this out and doing things. I'll save it. I might do something with it, but I'm going to go back to working on my other track. I hope that you're all good. Everybody have a very good week. I will see you next Saturday on 2.5 Oyajis with Victor. I will see you back here on Tokyo Tonight. Look out for some stuff coming up. The YouTube Happy Hour, awesome digital musical Tokyo Digital Crew track that's coming out. And some other projects. The video series with Rochelle, I am going to try to upload and get that all set very soon, so look out for that. Coolness and awesomeness everywhere. Stay cool, everybody. Have a very good week, and see you later, and peace. Boom. Remember, follow on Twitter, Facebook if you want to keep up with all the updates, and check out my Flipboards because they're awesome. See you later. Have a good week. Booyah. There we go. Start the stream.